Still stuck at the 10% for joint pain while every step feels like a landmine? Well, yeah, the VA might have lowballed you. In this video, we're covering 5 joint issues that veterans overlook or the VA just doesn't rate properly, and how to make sure you're getting what you've actually earned. Number 1 is a condition that is under-evaluated far too often. Number 5, if you're only service connected at 10% for this condition, I guarantee we can get those numbers to at least 20 as long as there is painful motion in the joint. But do me a favor, help me help you. I realize you can just skip to the end and find out what the 5 things listed are, but the real meat of helping me help you is in what is being said, not what is written. So give me 15 minutes or less, and I'll give you enough information to put you closer to or in that 100 club. I'm Mr. X. I'm the guy behind the guide giving you all the information you want to know and need to know about the VA claims process. And this is the VA Top 5. If putting on deodorant feels like a CrossFit challenge, yeah, that's not just getting older, it's a claim waiting to happen. Number 5 on the list, shoulder injuries, to include limited range of motion, dislocations, and pain. Now, the thing to understand about shoulder injuries or a shoulder condition of any kind is this. 10, 15, 20 years ago, the minimum evaluation, if there was only pain present, was 10%. Today, that is different. The minimum with painful motion, the minimum evaluation is 20%. So, look in your ratings. If you've been service connected for more than 10 years and it's less than 20%, then put in an increased claim for shoulder injuries. Because if you have that painful motion, if you have limited range of motion, okay, it's going to come back at a 20. Guaranteed that's going to put you closer to, that 100 club that we want you to get into. So, number 5, shoulder injuries. All right, number 4 on the list, elbow and wrist problems, to include limited use, to include pain, arthritis, range of motion issues. Now, I combine these conditions for a few different reasons. 1, your elbow can have 2 to 3 different evaluations for it alone. Your wrist is only a single. Now, based on the limited range of motion of your elbow, to include your forearm, you can get higher evaluations. Now, I included both these together, and bonus tip here, you can even include your hands or fingers in this as well, because if you have carpal tunnel syndrome, if you have cubital tunnel syndrome, this is nerve involvement as well. So that could add an additional evaluation to your elbow and your wrist problems. Those nerve evaluations are rated higher generally as well. So, if you're already service connected for an elbow or wrist issue, then you might consider putting in a claim for the cubital tunnel syndrome if you have that, carpal tunnel syndrome, okay, because as far as your arm goes, once you start favoring your elbow or your wrist, then it puts additional strain on your hand and other parts of your arm in general. So, if you're service connected for any of the above, then you might want to consider 1, putting in a claim for increase, and 2, putting in an additional claim if you're not service connected for your wrist or for carpal tunnel syndrome, then put in a claim for that as secondary to those other issues, and it will or should yield a higher evaluation. All right, number 3, hip joint issues, to include limited flexion, bursitis, arthritis, limited extension, abduction, adduction. Okay, think about it this way. If sitting too long makes you walk like John Wayne, well, that hip may need a second look. Okay, I know when I sit at the desk far too long, get up, start walking around, I got that John Wayne, slow walk. Okay, now why I included this. So with your hips, you can have up to 3 different evaluations for it based on the limited range of motion and the painful motion. Part of that evaluation as well has to do with the limitation of abduction and adduction. So, is your hip pain bad enough that you can't cross your legs? If so, and you only have a single hip evaluation, then I'd put in a claim for increase, because that alone is going to guarantee you're going to get another one. And depending on the range of motion, that's going to boost your numbers there as well. Things with your hips as well is, now with your hips, because it's in between your knees and your back, once you have hip issues, you could have back issues, you could have knee issues, ankle issues, feet issues. So depending on where the pain is, depending on what diagnosed conditions you have, your hip conditions, one, they may be under-evaluated, and two, you may be able to put in a claim for those other secondary conditions due to your hips based on how your hips are evaluated. If your knee sounds like popcorn every time you stand, that's not normal aging, okay? That's a missed rating right there. Number 2 on the list, knee conditions, to include instability, meniscus tears, painful movement, which means limitation of flexion, limitation of extension. Now, you can have up to 4 separate evaluations for your knees. Generally, your first one is going to be the limitation of flexion, limitation of extension. Generally, one of these is going to be, at 10% disabling due to painful motion. Okay. If you have instability on top of that, that's another evaluation. If you have meniscal issues or semilunar cartilage issues in your knee, and that was removed, doesn't matter if it was after service, as long as you're service connected for a knee condition prior to that, and then afterwards had a meniscus issue, then you could be service connected for that as well. So 4 separate knee evaluations, it's got to put you closer to that 100 club. Number 1, your spine, to include your upper and your lower back. This is generally seen as degenerative disc disease, limited flexion, painful motion. Okay, now we're going to separate these 2 conditions. I realize you can put in for a claim for your upper back secondary to your lower back and vice versa. Generally, that doesn't work out too well. When I've seen it claimed that way, the examiners will always come back and say that these are 2 separate conditions and are unrelated, and if there's arthritis between the 2, it doesn't spread. Now, I get it. There's that one outlier out there who says, well, I'm service connected for both. One is secondary to the other. That's fine. You may be the outlier, so consider yourself lucky, and I'm happy for you. Now, back to business here. So, when discussing either the upper or the lower back, the reason why these are huge and can be huge, I'm going to specifically talk about the lower here. Okay, if you have that shooting pain down your legs, okay, that shooting pain, depending on where it's at, if it's in your thigh, if it's in your knee, your shin, your toes, okay, each leg, you may be entitled to 2 separate evaluations. Okay, the radiculopathy, generally of the femoral nerve in your thigh, or the sciatic one, which is, starts in your low back and shoots down to your feet. Okay, you can have up to 2 evaluations per each leg. So if you're service connected for your low back, plus the femoral and sciatic radiculopathy, you can get 4, 5 different evaluations there. Sometimes erectile dysfunction and other urinary issues can be secondary to your lower back if your lower back condition is bad enough. Now, without getting too deep into the specifics of your claim, okay, you could be entitled to a lot more. Now, this is somewhat similar with your upper back. I called your upper back, we'll just say your neck. So if you have the radiculopathy, that you have your pain going down to your right arm or your left arm, now you can only get service connected for one nerve of the upper extremity. Now, these evaluations tend to be a little bit higher, so you can have up to 3 separate evaluations for your upper spine. Combined between the upper and lower, if you're service connected for all of the above, you could have 5, 8 different evaluations. Now, if you have 5 to 8 different evaluations for your upper and your lower back, that's rough. Okay, I feel for you. But if you're service connected for 5 to 8 different conditions there, you got to be in the 100 club or very close to it. Now, you might consider putting in a claim for increase depending on where you're at. That's going to depend on the specifics. Now, for the most part, and this is just to keep in mind here for your neck and your lower back conditions, pain is only 10%. After that, it all comes down to the limited range of motion. So when you bend over and try to touch your toes, or you flex side to side, okay, all of those measurements go to the higher evaluations. All right, wrapping it up here. There's the 5 different joint issues, but let's be honest, I gave you at least 7, 8 different things, maybe even more. All right, do me a favor. If you watch this video and feel like I gave you enough information to where you can now confidently file that claim or claim for increase for whatever your condition you're service connected for, then you owe me a thumbs up. All right, drop me a comment if I missed something. Drop me a comment if you have any questions. I'm always here to help. I'm always here to help you get closer to or in that 100 club. All right, full disclosure time. I was watching a video the other day, and at first I couldn't tell if it was AI or not. And then, as it spoke, it totally mispronounced a word. And that's when I knew it was AI. Got duped into it again. And I get it. I hated it. Last video I had a comment saying, hey, the video was good except for the AI. Yeah, I used an AI program to change my voice a little bit. It's not to hide who I am, but to make the video a little bit more appealing. You know, I'm a little self-conscious. You know, I didn't like my voice. You know, I like the voice, you know, a deeper voice, a different voice. If you have a preference one way or the other, let me know. Drop me a comment. If this video was just screeches to the ears because, you know, it didn't hit your ears just right, let me know. Drop me in the comments. All right. In the end, please subscribe. Like for more no fluff VA claim tips broken down with a little humor and some honesty. I'm Mr. X. This is VA Top 5.